Welcome to this Metro Plan Orlando TAC meeting. I'd like to call the meeting to order. It's now 10 o'clock. I'm Vice Chairman Joshua DeBreese, and I'll be chairing the meeting today as Chairman Bill Wharton is out on medical leave for the next couple meetings. Just as a reminder, since this meeting and our future meetings will be in person, it's important for all TAC members to attend our meeting in person in order for us to have a quorum. Members of the public will still be available to participate virtually, and we encourage them to do that. And so, Chair's announcements, there are two public comment points in the meeting. Members of the public attending in person who want to speak need to fill out a comment card and give it to Lisa. Those attending virtually who want to speak will use the raise hand feature on the Zoom screen. If attending by phone, you can hit the *9 to raise your hand and request to be recognized. When you're called, your microphone will be temporarily unmuted by staff, and we will ask you to state your name and contact information for the record. We also accept comments by emails before the meeting. Aside from that, I would like to thank everyone in attendance, both in person and virtually, for being patient with me as I act as chair for the committee as the first time. Also, would like to wish Bill a successful procedure and a speedy recovery. That's all of my announcements.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman. Welcome everyone to the May 19th TAC meeting. There is a change to the agenda. This is already, if you picked up a printed one over in the corner or received the update email from Lisa, then just disregard this. But for the record, the two presentations under common presentations and the two that are listed under TAC only are actually swapped. So we'll be getting the functional classification preview and the Sunshine Corridor status update under item 5 common presentations, and the TIP and PPL preview presentations will be under TAC only presentations. Like I said, it's already been incorporated into the printed one, so if you have that, then you're good to go. Also, a quick announcement, as you may have, if you're especially observant at TAC meetings, you may notice our PowerPoints look a bit different. Our comms team recently rolled out our new branding strategy, so all of the presentations will look a little different than they used to, and website changes coming soon, so we'll keep you posted there. Otherwise, I'll turn it over to Mike Wilson for our safety moment.
All right, thank you, Slade, and good morning, everyone. Our safety moment this month is looking forward to June, which is Safe Teen Driving Month, focus on the safer people slice of the safe system approach pie. A little bit of data from the Signal 4 system looking into teen crash trends. And we wanted to look at pre and post COVID. So comparing 2018 and 19 to 21 and 20. What's interesting is that crashes overall for all ages and all levels of severity are down by 18%, but our fatalities are up. And it seems to be that the teens are the ones driving, forgive that pun, that increase. I wanted to look at, what's behind that. Distracted driving really was the only factor that we saw where there was a significant change in the teen fatal crashes. Again, distracted driving down about somewhat, 16 to 18%. Even for the teens, distracted driving crashes overall were down, but a small number of teens seem to be getting into some much more serious trouble. So we saw the fatals really increasing there. So much greater consequences for when the teens get distracted behind the wheel. I should let you know that when we're talking about a teen fatal crash, that doesn't necessarily mean the teen was killed in the crash. It just means that there was a teen driver involved and there was a fatality involved in that crash. Digging a little deeper into the distraction issue, one of the things that was discovered by the Teens Safe Driving Coalition was that teens are much more likely to engage in risky behavior when they have a passenger or two or three in the crash, and you see how much that crash risk goes up with passengers in the car. So the takeaway is if you are a teen or if you have a teen, talk about limiting the number of passengers for when your teens are behind the wheel, seeing how you can get around having too many kids in the car, and just generally talking about consequences for distracted driving, and working up some mechanisms for that. And then another key thing, teens are disproportionately likely to be involved in a nighttime crash. You see 2/3, again, based on the Signal 4 data involving a nighttime crash for teen drivers. So that's our safety moment for this month, and thank you.
So do we have, and I don't think that this may not come through with like Signal 4 data for sure, but the number of teen drivers, is it, I just know in my own family, there's a lot of teens that don't want to drive. So is the total number of teen drivers kind of stayed the same or dipped or?
We don't have that data, and it's
yeah.
not available in Signal 4.
Right.
Yeah. But I did see that proportionately to population, teen drivers were actually less likely to be in crashes than those in their 20s were, and distracted, even for distracted crashes, less likely. And that's for crashes overall. So that may just be indicative of perhaps fewer teens driving than when they're in their 20s. All right, anyone else? Thank you.
Okay, with that, I'll go ahead and turn it over to Lisa for the roll call.
Yes, good morning. Abadantuano,
Present.
Bates,
Present.
Brock,
Here.
Carson,
Here.
Cash, El Hassar for Castelletto,
Present.
Castro,
Here.
Chester,
Here.
Cornelison. Here. Cologne,
Present.
DeVries.
Here.
And Mr. Chair, I'll just note that Bruce is represented on the virtual side for this meeting as well with Alicia. I can't pronounce her last name, sorry. Edie. Present. Elliot Moore. Gold. Hardwick. I'm sorry, Rhodes for Hardwick.
Present.
Dredge. Kane. Kamal. Crew. Moore for Lim.
Here.
Moskowitz. Witten for O'Keefe.
Here.
Allure. Pulliam.
Here.
Richmond. Sanders.
Here.
Sonorens.
Here.
Smith. Stirk.
Here.
Ramos for Stoudemire.
Here.
Wharton. Radzai for Yergin.
Here.
Mr. Chair, that concludes the roll call, and we do have a quorum.
Thank you, Lisa. Next on the agenda is comment presentations and status updates. We have three comment presentations, which we'll hear now, and 2 TAC only presentations later in the agenda. Please stand your nameplate on and to signalize you wish to ask a question, and we'll recognize you at the end. First up, we have the functional classification updates by Jason Learned with FDOT.
Okay, better. So I'm Jason Learned with FDOT, and I was here a few weeks ago, and I presented several things with regard to the functional classification review. I don't have a formal presentation this morning, but I do just want to give a few updates. We've had a few successful meetings so far. Just a rundown by county. Seminole County, the county has reached out to us and they concur with all of the recommended changes that the DOT proposed. We did get one comment from the city of Oviedo regarding a piece of road that was part of the old State Road 434 through their downtown, but has actually been vacated. None of the other cities in Seminole County have reached out to us yet. And then moving on, Osceola County, I understand that staff was wanting to get the layer file. And this is just an FYI to everybody. On the dashboard that I presented last time I was here, and at the link that you should all have, there is a collapsible panel on the left-hand side, and you may need to click the arrow for it to be visible. But if you look at that panel and scroll down, there are instructions on how to pull in the layer as a service and ArcMap or ArcMap Pro for your staff to look at. So there doesn't need to be any email files or anything. You can just it can be pulled right into GIS. And then regarding Orange County, we had a good meeting with Orange County to discuss several things. We are working with them regarding some jurisdictional road jurisdiction issues, which is actually a good thing because there's some cleanup on the DOT side regarding roads that we own or we thought we owned. So we're able through this effort to kill two birds with one stone here. And then as far as any of the cities in Orange County, we had a meeting with Maitland this week. And they were discussing with us a plan that is being worked on for traffic circulation around their downtown. And it was a really useful meeting because one of the changes that we had proposed was in conflict with their plan, but DOT didn't know about the plan. So I want to emphasize that's the reason why we need your local input, because there are lots of studies and plans for roads in your cities that we don't know about. And we certainly do not want to propose any changes that would be in conflict with what your cities or counties' visions are for roadways in certain areas. So that is the extent of my update. I'll be happy to answer any questions or any concerns that you all have.
Thank you, Jason. Do we have any questions?
This is Steve King from Osceola County.
Mhm.
I just want to say thank you. I think the application has been very helpful. I think the being able to see the before and after was great, and the ability to pull the data down is all excellent. So thank you.
All right. Oh, there is one thing I would like to address and share with you. We had received a comment that DOT was only responsible for proposing functional classification changes on roads that it owned and not local roads. That was an incorrect statement. The Federal Highway Administration gives the state DOTs full control of recommending functional classifications for all roads. And so saying that, I do want the cities and counties to understand not to look at the jurisdiction with regards to changes. For example, if there are state roads running through your cities that you would like to have functional classification changes on, we are open to that. Jurisdiction or maintenance responsibilities or road ownership should have no bearing whatsoever with regard to who recommends comments and proposes comments and changes. So.
Any other questions? All right. I did have a question. First of all, thank you for the explanation on the how to get the GIS information. And so I'm assuming it sounded like it was an Arc Pro type thing where it would just pull into Arc Pro. It's not necessarily a layer that would work in Arc Map.
Yeah, there's instructions on how to do it for both ArcMap and ArcPro,
Okay.
because they're a bit different.
All right, perfect. Thank you.
All right.
There's no further questions. We'll move on to the next agenda item.
All right, thank you.
Jason. All right. And the next presentation is the Sunshine Corridor Status Update by David Cook with FDOT.
Good morning. I'm David Cook with DOT District 5. I'm the District Rail Administration Manager. And we're not on, are we? This morning, I will provide an update on where we are with the Sunshine Corridor and potential federal grants. These grants are Federal Railroad Administration grants, FRA, for intercity passenger rail, which is Brightline, and Federal Transit Administration for FTA grants for commuter rail. This is an overview map of the Sunshine Corridor. The corridor is shown in red. And this could be a shared corridor for both commuter rail and intercity passenger rail. The corridor starts at OIA and continues west along the OUC spur to the Sunrail corridor near Orange Avenue, and then continues north to Taft Island, west along Taft Island out to the beach line and onto the convention center. Ultimately going to I-4 and then south or west to the South I Drive location. This is about 17 miles. We meet on a regular basis with our local government partners and private sector partners. The department did not submit an application to FRA this past cycle. We continue to work with our partners for upcoming cycles in preparation for future notice of funding opportunities. And Brightline is continuing to work on their section going from OIA to Tampa. The working group is continuing to develop and review a memorandum of understanding, which will address such items as right-of-way, access, dispatch, phasing, and costs. The ridership study update is underway. We did receive some additional information on the OIA visitor preference study that will be put into the update. And this is related to the Sunrail connector to OIA small starts project development study that's been on hold now for several years. And we're preparing to update FTA on the status of the Sunrail connector. And the working group is discussing potential options. Potential options include withdrawing or pausing the Sunrail connector to OIA and reapplying as a larger project, expanding or extending the existing project to include the entire Sunshine Corridor, completing the current Sunrail connector to OIA project, and study the remaining segments of the corridor as separate projects, or complete a hybrid intercity commuter rail project while working with FRA and FTA as cooperating agencies. So our next steps, complete the ridership study in the MOU, prepare a transit concept and alternatives review, a TCAR, and submit our status update on the existing Sunrail connector project to FTA. And with that, that concludes my update.
Thank you, David. Are there any questions?
Yeah, I have. Is there another? I have a question. Yeah. So, David, thanks for that presentation. Appreciate that. I noticed that you're naming the Brightline corridor Sunshine East. How far does that go? The name of that, does it go all the way down to?
That's the, yes. I mean, I'm assuming that's going all the way down to Miami. So,
Okay.
because you do have the intercity rail project Brightline, which from Miami to Orlando or OIA out to Tampa.
Okay. That was it.
That was an easy one.
David, so there will be a another station to connect Sunrail with Brightline?
That's something to look at, is whether or not we'd have a transfer station there near the Y at Orange Ave. Then you've got out at the convention center on the, Universal area. And then down on South I Drive near Disney Springs would be the station locations you should look, and of course the airport.
That hasn't been finalized yet.
No,
Okay,
no, we're working on it.
okay, thank you.
Hi, thank you. I know a lot of folks in Central Florida have waited a long time for the connection from the airport to the current line. I'm curious, has there been any financial modeling about the impact of doing that sooner versus later? I hear that you're looking at those options of whether or not to cancel that or delay it, and what impact that would have on the.
And those
system.
initial cost estimates are part of the TCAR, but we are doing those kind of up front to get an idea for the different partners. So you've got Brightline or intercity passenger rail that's looking to go from OIA to Tampa. And then you've got that Sunshine Corridor piece for commuter rail, which could be sequenced or phased into 3 segments, potentially OIA to the main line over to the convention center, and then down the South I Drive is the 3rd phase or 3C. Or you could do any combination of this. You could do the whole corridor, or you could maybe go from I Drive out to the convention center. So, and the ridership studies will, I think, help drive some of that conversations too, as well. So.
And those ridership studies are happening as a part of this greater project because the other.
The
project
initial
is on hold.
studies for just to have data are being done as part of the TCAR.
Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Seeing no further questions. Thank you, David.
All right, thank you.
Appreciate the presentation. And the next item on the agenda is public comments on action items. We will now hear public comments on the action items. We ask that you provide your name and address for the record, and please hold your comments to 2 minutes or less. If any members of the public wish to comment and are joining us virtually, please raise your hand, or please use the raise hand function and you'll be recognized, or dial *9 on your phone keypad. We'll send you a prompt to unmute your mic. Do you have anyone joining us virtually who would like to make a comment?
We have no hands raised.
Thank you. And do we have any members of the public attending in person that wish to make a public comment?
We have not received any.
Thank you. And are there any written comments that were submitted before the meeting?
We've received no written comments prior to the meeting.
The next item is the action items. And the first item under that is approval of the April 28th, 2023 TAC meeting minutes. You'll find that in tab 1 of your agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Motion to approve the minutes, Ramon Centerins.
And do I have a second?
Second.
Second. Gus. All right. And is there any discussion? All right. So this is a voice vote. All in favor, state by saying aye.
Aye.
And are there any opposed? All right, hearing none, the motion passes. And the second item on the agenda is the FDOT amendment to FY 2022-23 through 2026-27 TIP. That's also, what's it says tab 1, I think it's tab 2.
Oh, yeah, that would be 10.
Okay. That's available on tab 2 of your packet. And Jason Sorrento from Metro Plan Orlando is here to tell us more about that.
Good morning, Mr. Chairman and committee members. This morning, I have a total of 4 TIP amendments for you. Additional information regarding these amendments is located in tab 2 of your agendas. The first of these amendments is to add funds to a transit project within the Section 5307 grant program. In addition, we have 1 amendment due to increases to construction cost estimates for a safety project on State Road 50 from Pine Hills Road to Tampa Avenue in Orange County. Finally, we have 2 new FDOT projects. The first of these amendments is for a traffic signal project on State Road 424 from south of Saddle Drive to north of Aloha Street in Orange County. And the second of these amendments is for a resurfacing project on State Road 436 from Lake Howell Road to Orange County line in Seminole County. As I mentioned earlier, you have some additional information regarding these amendment requests located in tab 2 of your agendas. With that being said, unless there are any questions, we are asking for your recommendation of approval of the amendments. Thank you.
Do I have a motion to approve the tip amendments?
Motion to approve the amendments, Ramon Centerins.
And
I'll say.
thank you. And we have a motion and a second. Are there any questions or discussion? All right. Seeing none, this is a voice vote. All in favor, state by saying aye.
Aye.
Are there any opposed? All right, hearing none, the motion passes.
And just for the record, who is the second on that? Just okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And so now there are two TAC only presentations. Please stand your nameplate on the end to signal that you wish to ask a question, and we'll recognize you at the end. And the first under the TAC only presentations is a preview of the FY 23-24 through FY 27-28 Transportation Improvement Program by Jason Sorrento, Metro Plan Orlando.
Good morning, everyone. This morning, I'll be presenting a preview of our fiscal year 2023-2024 to fiscal year 2027-2028 Transportation Improvement Program. In your agenda packets, you will find a link to the draft document for you to review. And the new tip will be coming back during the June-July board and committee cycle as an action item. We'll start off with a little background regarding the tip. The purpose of the tip is to identify all federal and state funded transportation projects for the next 5 years within the region. In addition, we have the option to include locally funded projects and Central Florida Expressway projects for informational purposes and to give a better picture of regional transportation spending. The tip is updated on an annual basis, and the 5th year of funding is consistent with the adopted prioritized project list, which was adopted in July of 2022. The tip is made up of 11 sections where projects are located at. All the sections are listed on the slide. Overall, we have 427 projects listed in those 11 sections. And over the course of this presentation, I'm going to highlight just a few of those projects. To start off with, if you took a look at the document prior to this meeting, you'll notice that we refreshed a few things. To start off with, we have our new Metro Plan Orlando branding throughout the document, which was rolled out in the spring of 2023. In addition, we refreshed the document to make it more visually appealing, easier to read, and user-friendly. And on the slide, we have an example of what a project table looks like now. Start off with the National Highway System. The National Highway System projects consist of projects on the Interstate Highway System, Strategic Intermodal System, and National Highway Freight Network. In our region, the National Highway System mainly consists of I-4 projects. Over the past year, FDOT has come before you and given several presentations regarding progress along I-4. There are a total of 19 I-4 projects in the TIP with an estimated $618 million in funding programs. Few projects we would like to highlight include I-4 from east of County Road 522 to west of State Road 528. And this project has right-of-way funded in fiscal year 2023, 2024, and fiscal year 2025, 2026. In addition, a project that we've seen FDOT present on a couple times, I-4 at Darrell Carter Parkway Interchange, has construction funded in fiscal year 2024 and 2025. In Seminole County, we have I-4 from 1 mile east of State Road 434 to US 1792, which has right-of-way funded in fiscal years 2023, 2024, and fiscal year 2024 and 2025, and has preliminary engineering funded in fiscal year 2024, 2025. Finally, in Seminole County, we have construction funded in fiscal year 2025-2026 for a truck parking site. The state highway system includes capacity improvements, complete streets, safety operations, and ITS investments on the state highway system. Within the TIP, we have 39 projects in this section. We have an estimated 460 million in funding. The first project we would like to highlight is State Road 50 from east of Old Cheney Highway to Chuliota Road in Orange County. This project will add lanes and rehab pavement, and construction is programmed in fiscal year 2026-2027. Additionally, we have a next phase of this project from Chuliota Road to State Road 520, which has construction funding program for fiscal year 2027-2028. The next project to highlight is US 1792, John Young Parkway to Pleasant Hills Road. This is an intersection improvement project, which has right-of-way funding programmed in fiscal year 2024 and 2025, and fiscal year 2025 and 2026. And construction is funded in fiscal year 2026-2027. The last project for this section we would like to highlight is State Road 436 from North Lake Boulevard to Boston Avenue. This is a pedestrian detection system, also known as PedSafe. This one has construction and operations programmed in fiscal year 2023-2024. Next, we have complete street projects, which consist of bicycle and pedestrian intersection improvements that improve safety and accessibility for all users. Within the TIP, we have 7 Metroplan Orlando funded projects with an estimated 24 million in funding. The first of these projects we would like to highlight is Edgewater Drive from Lakeview Street to Parr Street. And this project has construction programmed in fiscal year 2023-2024. Next, we would like to highlight Buenaventura Boulevard from Simpson Road to Osceola Parkway, which has construction programmed in fiscal year 2024-2025. And finally, we have a project that we just recently had a presentation on by VHB on behalf of City of Castleberry. Winter Park Drive from Redbug Lake Road to State Road 434 has preliminary engineering programmed in fiscal year 2025-2026. Next, we have TISMO projects, which consist of projects that use innovative strategies or leverage existing technology deployments to improve safety and travel time reliability. Within the TIP, we have 16 Metroplan Orlando funded projects with an estimated 24 million in funding. First of these projects we want to highlight is the Orange County Traffic Signal Cabinet Upgrade. This project will upgrade traffic control devices and systems at various locations throughout Orange County, and construction is programmed in fiscal year 2024-2025. Next, we have Marigold Avenue from San Lorenzo Road to Peabody Road. This is a roundabout project which has construction programmed in fiscal year 2024-2025. In addition, the TIP includes 3 new TISMO bundles for traffic operations improvements in the city of Orlando. We have the Garland Avenue bundle and Huey Avenue bundle, which has preliminary engineering funded in fiscal year 2027-2028. We have the West South Street and West Anderson Street bundle, which has preliminary engineering funded in fiscal year 2027-2028. And we have the Church Street bundle, which has preliminary engineering funded in fiscal year 2025-2026. Our maintenance and fixed capital outlay section of the TIP includes maintenance projects and fixed capital expenses designated to support operations and maintain the state highway system. This includes projects for safety, resurfacing, bridge, product support, operations and maintenance, and administration. The TIP has a total of 68 projects in this section with an estimated 75 million in funding. And it should be noted that these totals do not include 3R resurfacing projects or bridge projects on the state highway system, or on the state highway list, sorry. The bike and pedestrian section of the TIP includes standalone bicycle and pedestrian projects, including sidewalks and trails. Within the TIP, we have 22 Metroplan Orlando funded projects with an estimated 46 million in funding. The first that we would like to highlight is Shingle Creek, which has 4 phases funded in the TIP. This includes sections from West Taff Island Road to State Road 528, from State Road 528 to Destination Parkway, from Old Winter Garden Road to Raleigh Street, and from Alhambra Drive to Old Winter Garden Road. Construction funding is programmed for 2 phases of the trail in fiscal year 2023-2024, and for 1 phase of the trail in fiscal year 2024-2025. And phase 4 of this trail has preliminary engineering funded in fiscal year 2025-2026, and construction funded in fiscal year 2027-2028. Next, we have St. Cloud sidewalks. These sidewalk improvements are to take place on Delaware Avenue, Vermont Avenue, and Columbia Avenue, and construction is funded in fiscal year 2023-2024. Finally, we have the Lake Monroe Loop Trail from Mellonville Avenue to State Road 415, which is a bike path trail, and construction is funded in fiscal year 2023-2024. Safe routes to school include sidewalk projects located within close proximity to schools. Within the TIP, we have 4 projects with an estimated $1.2 million in funding. Transit and commuter rail make up 2 separate sections within the TIP. The transit and transportation disadvantaged section of the TIP includes operations and capital funding for links, and the TIPS includes an estimated $523 million in funding. The commuter rail section of the TIP includes Sunrail projects, and we have an estimated $119 million in funding. As you can see, we have a lot going on, a lot of transportation projects going on in the region over the next 5 years. Not counting the local area project section of the TIP, we have a total of 312 projects with an estimated $4.1 billion in funding programmed. And the pie chart on the screen breaks down the funding by category based on sections of the TIP. Over the next few weeks, there are several steps to take prior to presenting the final iteration of the TIP during the June-July board and committee cycle. Currently, the document is being reviewed by FDOT and agency partners. In addition, we still need to add Central Florida Expressway's 5-year work plan to the document. And finally, we'll be conducting an internal review of the document to make sure all of the project information is in order. We will also be having a TIP virtual public meeting on Wednesday, June 21st from 11:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. The location will be on Zoom, and we have more information on the website, and that is also where the Zoom link will be located at. This concludes the preview of the fiscal year 2023-2024 to 2027-2028 TIP. I would like to open up the floor for any questions.
Thank you, Jason. Are there any questions?
Jason, Dana Chester with CFX. Not a question, but I can give you an update on our work plan.
Okay.
It's a little slower this year because of discussions on rate updates on our system, but we anticipate that the final work plan will be approved at the upcoming June board.
Okay.
So as soon as that's done, then I can get that over to you guys.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Any other questions? All right. Seeing
I have
none.
one.
Oh, was there one?
Thank you. I have a question about the I-4 projects. I thought that we recently received those funds, those federal funds for those projects, but I didn't see those reflected on here. Is that something just because it hasn't quite made it out of, Tallahassee onto this program, or
Are you referring to the
moving forward?
Beyond the Ultimate South?
The moving forward funding.
Gotcha. I believe Alex. I'll let Alex answer this.
Okay.
I'll speak to that one. And Secretary Tyler provided a brief update to our board. So the entire, the governor's initiative, which was a legislative initiative, looked for $7 billion. I believe the legislature apportioned $4 billion of that. So I know DOT is back to the drawing board, looking at all those statewide priorities, and we will be informed soon as to what that project list looks like. So again, they only received about 65% of the necessary funds. So stay tuned. We're all eagerly waiting to see what's next on that list. As soon as that comes out, we will be doing an amendment to the tip as necessary.
Okay, so it won't be in this, like in what we'll be voting on in June or July.
If we hear back from DOT before that time, we'll be incorporating it.
Okay.
But again, a lot of that timing is contingent upon central office and the governor's office.
Thank you.
Sure.
Any other questions? All right, thank you, Jason. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
And next up, we have a preview of the FY 28, 29, through FY 30, 20, 37, 38 prioritized project list by Slade Downs, Metro Plan Orlando.
Right, thank you, Mr. Vice Chairman. For the record, Slade Downs, Metro Plan Orlando staff. I will be walking all of you through the preview of our annual prioritized project list update. So just to give you a quick background, walk you through some of our core products. The MTP, Metropolitan Transportation Plan, is our 25-year plan, which is updated every 5 years. And you all just got a full rundown on the tip, so that's covered ground. But I bring the MTP and the tip up just because the prioritized project list serves as a bridge between those two plans. The PPL looks at the first 10 years of the MTP, and whereas the tip is kind of a more zeroed in on details of specific projects, this is kind of more of a 10,000-foot view of what we're expecting in the 10-year period following the tip. The prioritized projects list is updated annually, and you're all getting a preview of that process and what that update will look like. So you will have a chance to provide feedback and comment on projects identified for federal and state funding. So get your pens at the ready. Next, I'll tell you about our approach. The PPL stays consistent with the MTP, which is where we've already established the needs, cost feasibility, and cost forecasts. The PPL ultimately follows board direction and policy, and the performance-based process and prioritization is well documented in the PPL. If any of you would like to take a more in-depth look at that, it'll be in supplement B of the draft PPL document, which is linked on the agenda. The end goal basically of the PPL is to advance our high quality improvement projects around the region. Kind of the bottom line. Some considerations to take in mind while you're reviewing. Certain funding sources come with strings attached. So some projects are eligible for certain funding sources, but not others. We've made sure that the projects are cost feasible in the MTP, but the availability of funds and readiness of each project phase are where we really get into the kind of the action of the PPL. So this chart showing the funding programs and priority list is pulled directly from the MTP, and there is a copy of it in the PPL, just with a couple of color changes for our new branding. Each one of these program and priority lists has one sheet that has kind of a detailed breakdown of funding source and what projects are eligible. I'm going to give you all a brisk overview of each of those in just a second. A few of them are asterisked. That just means that the priority list is under development still. For example, the area-wide ITS improvements and the ACES demonstrations there at the bottom right are being populated by recommendations made by the TISMO master plan, which will be rolling out towards the end of this year. And that study is currently underway. So with that, I'll kick off our project lists. Here we have the interstate highway system and strategic intermodal system. These are cost feasible projects coordinated with FDOT, and we include that list to stay consistent with their plans. We've got these 2 truck parking locations here at the top, which on I-4, which kind of fit in with our regional freight goals. And after that, it's mainly further build out of the I-4 Ultimate and Beyond the Ultimate projects. You can find the one sheet for these on page 12 and the detailed project lists on page 25 of the draft PPL document. Next, we have our state road, state highway system. These are the key priorities of our state roads, in addition to the phases that are already programmed into the TIP. So you'll see some of the projects up here on the screen, as well as in that detailed list, are just the future phases of some of the items that Jason just went over in his TIP preview update. You can find the one sheet for this on page 13 and the detailed list tables on page 27. Next, we have the off-system construction assistance program and TRIP. These are, projects of regional significance that are not part of the state highway system. They're listed in the draft PPL, but they're not ranked because one of the key caveats of this funding program is local agency readiness. So the local agencies are required to put forth funding and implementation for the preliminary phases consistent with federal processes, and protocols. And those local agencies will need to have 50% of construction costs committed in order to qualify. You can find the one sheet for this on page 14 and the list tables on page 33. Next, we have complete streets and context-sensitive improvements. This and the next few lists I'll be going over are funded with urban area funds, meaning they're at the discretion of the protocols approved directly by MetroPlan Orlando's board. These are lists where we direct FDOT onto which projects and project phases to move forward on and move those allocated funds onto. You can find the one sheet for this on page 15, as well as the detailed lists on page 34. And just a quick note on the one sheet there is a project, Old Dixie Highway in Apopka, that is erroneously listed on that one sheet. It's been removed, and that will be corrected on the final draft version that we'll be bringing at the next meeting. Next up, we have TISMO. These projects are organized into bundles. You'll see, like I said, with the state roads, some of these are projects that Jason just went over during the TIP preview. These are just the future phases of the phases already programmed into the TIP. And you can find the one sheet on page 17 and the list tables on page 36. Next, we have pedestrian and bicycle infrastructure projects. These are regional multimodal projects broken out by priority phase. We have construction along the West Orange Trail, design along 2 phases of the Shingle Creek Trail, design for a shared use path along Quail Pond Circle, and design for the Shingle Creek / Kirkman Trail. You can find the one sheet on page 20 and the list tables on page 39. Next, we have Safe Routes to School. Safe Routes to School is an FDOT program, and we keep those regional priorities within our PPL to stay consistent with the FDOT priorities. You can find the one sheet for this on page 21 and the long list tables on page 41. Next, we have the critical sidewalk gap bundles. I know at our last meeting, I gave a full update and rundown of the critical sidewalk gap bundles program, but for anyone that wasn't there, I'll give you a quick 1-sentence fire round on that. We took the weighting criteria and scoring methodology created by the Vulnerable Users Working Group, applied it through GIS analysis, and these are the top bundles that that analysis gave us and identified. You can find the one sheet for these on page 22 and the long list tables on page 42. And in those list tables, the bundles are broken out by individual segment, so you can see exactly which segments of make up each of those bundles. And last but definitely not least, we have regional transit projects. We have Sunrail Phase 3, the connection to OIA, Link's Southern Operations and Maintenance Facility, as well as Link's Northern Operation Base, a couple of Sunrail station parking lot expansions, and general expansion and enhancement of Link's bus services. So that brings us to next steps. What's next in this process? I'll bring this presentation to our other committees and the Metroplan Orlando board. We're actively soliciting comments from our local partners, which would be all of you. We're going to need that feedback by June 9th at the latest, so that we have time to incorporate the changes and updates into the final draft PPL, which I'll be bringing back at our next meeting. So with that, thank you for listening. I'll take any questions.
Do we have any questions?
I caught a few things that need correction. I'll just email those to you, but I wanted to, because you might want to update your PowerPoint for future, if you're taking it to the board. Quail Pond Circle is actually constructed, so I think that's a remnant from old presentations.
Got it. Good to know. Thank you. We'll definitely get those updated.
Aaron?
Thank you. A quick question, just with the formatting of this, the projects that are at the top of the list that say the priority phase and the phase is TIP, that just means that all of those projects have moved off of the PPL onto the TIP. Is that what it's indicating? Or is it indicating there's still phases left to fund? It's partially on the TIP.
Right. So in the tables towards in supplement A, any that are identified as TIP are, you're correct, they are have been moved into the TIP, but they're kind of towards the later fiscal years. They're programmed in the later ones. Just to keep consistency between the two plans, we've included those in the PPL still, just so we have kind of a fail safe for our records.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All right. I did have a question related to this. So for the projects that are on the presentation and the updated PPL, the draft updated PPL, will there be a call for projects, or we used to call it the 4P process? Will we need to be providing updated applications and information for that process?
Go ahead and let Taylor answer that one.
Thank you.
Thank you, Slade. So good morning. Josh, what you're referring to is the project intake process, and we're wanting to have the PPL discussion to make sure that the priority projects are correct and on the list. So we're looking for your feedback to kind of make sure that we have the right projects in the right order. And then I'll be reaching out to you kind of early June to talk about those next projects that are eligible for funding and ready to move into that project intake process this year. So that would be an application that you've all likely been familiar with, formerly called 4P. Now it's a little more general with just the project intake name, but we'll reach out to you and say, these are the projects that are eligible for funding 5 years from now. So that new 5th year of the TIP to be taken in and kind of brought forward during the TIP preview next year. So you'll get an email from me prompting you when we're ready for that.
So those are the projects that'll be after the ones that we just went through, the next 5-year process.
So this will be identifying the short list of projects, so the top priorities that we have funding available for the next fifth year of the TIP. So I would be looking for funding for fiscal year 29.
Thank you. Any other questions at all? If not, well, thank you, Slade, for the presentation.
Thank you.
And then, all right, so there's several items on under general information in tab 3 in your agenda packets for your review. And upcoming meetings of interest. There are several upcoming meetings of interest. Most specific to the committee include our next TAC meeting that will be held in person Friday, June 30th, 2023. And also the next Metro Plan Orlando Board meeting that will be held in person on Wednesday, June 14th, 2023. And then okay, there we go, other business. And at this time, do any committee members want to make any final comments? All right, I'll just make a comment that I appreciate everyone's patience with me as I act as chair today, and I appreciate it. And thank you for Metro Plan and FDOT and all our partners that help us through this process. If we have no comments from committees, the committee members, then we'll look at the public comments. If any members of the public wish to comment and are joining us virtually, please use the raise hand function and you'll be recognized, or dial *9 on the phone keypad. We'll send you a prompt to unmute your mic. After you're recognized, please state your name and address for the record and limit your comment to 2 minutes or less. Do we have anyone joining us virtually who would like to make a comment?
We don't have any hands raised.
All right. And do we have any members of the public attending in person that wish to make a comment?
Have not received any.
And are there any written comments that were submitted before the meeting?
No written comments received.
All right, thank you. Well, if there's no further business, we stand adjourned at 10:56. We'll call it. Thank you, everyone.